Welcome to my tutorial where I'm going to be talking about some basic practicing techniques that you can use as a beginner. Even if you've been playing the guitar for many years, decades, as I have, you can always go back to the beginning and become a beginner. So these are some techniques that you can practice to add some interest to your rhythm playing. So I'll just start off with the first concept. For today, I'm just going to start off with a simple A minor chord. So the idea here is that you kind of use one finger at a time for strumming. And there's different examples of this. If you ever watch Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac, or certainly flamenco players like Paco de Lucia. So this is something that you can use for your rhythm playing. So the idea here is to do different rhythmic groupings. One, or you can do two. So I'm just kind of making like a light fist, and then I'm just kind of shooting out my fingers. Okay, just one at a time. So now, depending on what chord you're doing and what effect you're going for, you'll see a lot of flamenco players will kind of put their thumb up on this bottom string. So what I did in my opening example, and what I'll do throughout this video, is sometimes I'll anchor and sometimes I won't anchor. So it's probably good to do it both ways. So you have one, two, just shoot one finger at a time, three. So then you just do as many of those kind of repetitions. I'm kind of presenting this as a technique exercise. And then maybe four. So what you'll notice is you'll have to kind of adjust your angle of your hand depending on, how your hand is formed and how many strokes that you want here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, just for variety, I'm just going to switch to an F major 7th chord, C, A, F, C, 3. So you can watch a lot of different videos on YouTube, or look at different kind of books about Rasqueados, just to see various ways of looking at this. There's also a stroke that the flamenco players talk about, where you're hitting with the middle two fingers, and that's a very strong stroke. So you can kind of use just one finger down, or you can do two for a stronger sound. And then also up. All right, I'm going to go to an E chord now. I'm going to continue to anchor here, and notice what I'm doing. How I'm not like right over the sound hole. I'm a little bit here. So this is going to give you different effects. This will be a little bit more muted sound. Also, the strings are going to be more pliant here, a little looser. So you can experiment with where you're strumming. G chord. So for today, I'm just using my 3rd and 4th finger. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So this is a technique that I kind of discovered many years ago, to come back up with the thumb. Yeah, this was just my attempt to kind of do things that I was hearing on Paco de Lucia records before I really knew very much about Rasqueados. All right, just tell a quick story. many years ago, I studied with a classical guitar player named Bill Carter. You can look him up, Bill Carter, C-A-R-T-E-R. And he had told me that practicing Rasqueados was good for just right-hand strength. Now, he was primarily a classical player. He didn't really find, at least at the time, he didn't really find flamenco very interesting to him, but he thought, well, he thought for me, practicing this technique would help to develop the strength in my right hand, because you're working on different muscles. When you're playing classical, you're coming in this way. Rasqueados, you're coming out that way. 2, 3. So you're making kind of a loose fist, and then just shooting your fingers out one at a time. 4, 5, 1. This is a little bit trickier because you shoot out first finger, bring it back in. Okay, and then the technique that I kind of invented for myself, I'm going to an F major 7th chord now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So then what I might recommend to like a beginning student is do some slow reps, you know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is pretty hard to do, to discipline yourself to do it like this. But if you can do this slow, careful practicing, then eventually it'll come to that. I'll also tell a quick story about Michael Chapdelaine, C-H-A-P-D-E-L-A-I-N-E, an excellent fingerstyle player, and I went to a master class of his many years ago at the university that I was attending, and he talked about playing painfully slowly. So if you practice like that, then eventually you'll kind of get it in your muscle memory. Yeah. So then you can even do this with just standard chords. Like maybe I'll do like a G, E minor, C, D. I'll do kind of like a basic oldies. Gives you a little different sound. Okay. So that's just one brief example. Then maybe some of you have heard of Rodrigo and Gabriela. So I think in one tutorial, she was talking about one of her basic techniques. So it's a little bit different than what I'm doing here, but I'll just talk about it briefly. So the idea here is she's using the middle two fingers coming down, and then she's coming up with her thumb. So it's kind of like almost like a turn of the wrist. Something I've told my children about, because a lot of times if you're playing a gig, say on stage, and let's say you drop your pick, then what do? So then you can use this technique. So let's say you're playing like a C chord, drop your pick, you have your downstroke and then your upstroke. Okay, let's say I'm doing like down, down, up, F, chord. Right, so then once you get a handle on that, then you can do that. It says maybe change up to do like a regular D minor chord. So let's say you're doing like a strum like that. So what I did there, then I did a three-note Rasqueado. I think the big revelation I had was when I was first learning Rasqueados, it was a book that was talking all about 4-finger Rasqueados, which can be really, really challenging because of how most, the pinky is so much smaller. But if you think in terms of 3, you get the triplet, da-da-da, and it's also a little bit easier to make it sound consistent because of those fingers being relatively, closer in length. So let's say I'm just like riffing on a G chord, like 2-finger G chord. C. Adds a nice dynamic to your playing. Also, we'll go back to Bill Carter. I think in the lesson, he had talked about when you play flamenco, you attack the strings. So it's hard from this angle, but as I'm opening my hand, I'm actually like kind of hitting the strings. Now, I don't keep my nails really long. That's just a personal preference, and I just have never had good success with keeping long nails. But certainly if you have nice, long, hard nails, like you'll see a flamenco player, that's going to be very, very sharp. Yeah. So that's a much different sound than, say, if you're playing with strumming with a pick. I'm just opening my hand and then creating almost like a percussion. And if you hit it hard enough, then you'll get this kind of this metallic slap. Okay, let's just have a little bit of fun at the end here. I'm getting a little bit long-winded here, but so the basic idea is that you're either keeping your thumb here and strumming, or I didn't really talk about this very much. You can keep your thumb up on top here too. You'll see flamenco players will play like this. You'll see some Paco de Lucia. He'll do this. This is a little bit harder to do, but if you wanted to get the low E string, you can also move your hand back a little bit. That might make it a little bit easier. 3. So I'm encouraging you to do some slow practice. And then also just kind of let it happen. Okay, so then you can do, this is kind of a nice kind of flamenco progression. So you go to your E chord, and then you go up 1 fret, and then go up 2 frets, down 2, and then back to. So if you wanted to get a little cleaner sound, you could just mute this low E. Have fun with this. 1 finger 2, middle 2, 4, 5. Actually, I did that. A 6. All right, and then I didn't talk. And then that's kind of taking the 6, and then adding in the Gabriella technique. So it's just a question of your imagination, using your imagination. Yeah, and I guess you could also, in addition to strumming down with the middle 2 and up with the thumb, you could also strum down with the index too. Take strumming, and then that 6. 3. would encourage you, obviously, to watch some actual flamenco players, notably Paco de Lucia, and there are others which you can kind of search for yourself on YouTube. Okay, I think that's all I have. I'll share with today, and thanks for watching.